We're all looking for that lightning in a bottle moment, right? That big, creative idea. Now, the old advice says you've got to grind when you're at your sharpest. But what if I told you your best ideas are actually hiding in plain sight when you're tired and your brain feels like mush? Today, let's get into the really surprising science behind when you're truly at your creative peak.
Think about it. Have you ever been about to drift off to sleep, just totally exhausted, and then, bam, the answer to that problem you've been wrestling with for weeks just pops into your head? Well, it turns out that's not just a fluke. There's a really fascinating reason our brains do their best work when we're least expecting it.
And this idea, right, that a tired brain is a creative brain, it's become super popular. It's almost a mantra for creatives. But is that the whole story? Or is the real secret something a little deeper? Something tied to the unique rhythm of your own body? So here's our game plan. First, we're going to look at this whole tired brain advantage. Then I'm going to introduce you to your chronotype. Trust me, it's a game changer. After that, we'll get into the synchrony effect, and finally, we'll wrap up with a super practical guide to finding your own creative sweet spot. Let's do this.
Okay, first things first. Let's really dig into this popular theory. Why on earth would being less focused make you more creative? It sounds kind of backward, right?
Well, a 2011 study found that people actually did better on creative insight problems when they were less awake. See, when your brain is tired, its filters get weaker. Now, that's terrible if you're trying to do your taxes, but it's fantastic for creativity. It lets all these random thoughts bump into each other and create something totally new. As social psychologist Dr. Ron Friedman says, a tired mind is just more open to brand new ideas.
Here's a fun way to think about it. Imagine your brain has a bouncer at the door. When you're awake and focused, that bouncer is super strict. Got a VIP pass? Relevant thought? Come on in. Everyone else, stay out. But when you're tired, the bouncer's dozing off, letting all the weird, random, and wonderful ideas sneak past the velvet rope. And that's when the real creative party gets started.
So, the tired brain idea makes some sense, but it's really just one piece of a much bigger puzzle. What if the real key isn't about being tired, but about perfect timing? It's time we talked about your personal body clock, or what scientists call your chronotype.
So here it is. This is the big question that flips all that old advice upside down. What if peak creativity doesn't come from being tired and out of sorts, but from being in a state of perfect biological alignment?
Okay, so what in the world is a chronotype? Simply put, it's your body's natural built-in schedule. It's the deep-seated reason you're either a morning person who leaps out of bed or a night owl who really hits their stride long after the sun goes down. It's just how you're wired.
Now, most of us fall into one of two main buckets. You've got your larks, the early birds who are at their absolute best in the morning, and then you have the owls, who are late chronotypes. Their energy and focus really peak later in the day. So take a second. Which one sounds more like you? And knowing if you're a lark or an owl is so important because it leads us to this really cool idea, a phenomenon called the synchrony effect. The synchrony effect basically says, forget the tired brain theory. The real magic happens when you're perfectly in sync with your natural rhythm. It's not about being groggy at all. It's about hitting your biological prime time.
And the research on this is pretty clear. The hypothesis was that we're most creative when our body clock lines up with the actual clock on the wall. And, yep, they found it was true. Larks are most creative in the morning, owls are most creative in the afternoon. And this is especially true for the really hard stuff, the high-level thinking that creativity demands.
So why does this happen? Why does being in sync with our body clock make us so much more creative? Well, the research points to two really powerful forces working behind the scenes: our confidence and our mood.
The first driver is something called creative self-efficacy. It's a fancy term, but all it means is believing you can be creative. When you're working during your body's peak hours, you just feel more capable and confident. And that confidence is the fuel that helps you tackle tough creative challenges. The second key driver? Mood. Just look at these charts. For morning larks, see how the line for creativity on the left and the line for positive mood on the right almost perfectly mirror each other? They both spike in the morning. The connection is powerful. When you're in sync, you're not just thinking more clearly, you're happier. And a happy brain is a very, very creative brain.
Okay, so this is all really fascinating, right? But the most important question is, what can you actually do with this information? Let's make it practical and figure out how to find your peak.
It's really just a simple three-step plan. First, figure out your chronotype. Be honest with yourself. Are you a lark or an owl?
Step 2. Schedule your most important brain-draining creative work for those peak times. You have to protect that time. And third, push all the boring routine stuff, answering emails, doing admin work, to your off-peak hours. It's all about working smarter, not just harder.
So here's the bottom line. Sure, a moment of exhaustion might accidentally spark a random idea, but your true, sustainable creative power is unlocked when you stop fighting your own biology and start working with it. So I'll leave you with this. What amazing things are just waiting for you to create if you just stopped fighting your body clock and decided to ride the wave?